We're going to have a lot of happy people.
With those words and that ink, Donald Trump today took the rare step of backing down. He undid a problem he himself created, even as he took credit for his own reversal.
So we're keeping families together, and this will solve that problem.
The problem? All those migrants accused of crossing into the U.S. illegally, detained in cages, and if they came with children, the children were taken from them. Such family separation sparked a huge outcry in this country.
Let the children go now!
With emotional pleadings for Trump to back down on the policy that brought it on. The families were separated because of his decision to criminally prosecute all alleged illegal crossers. Zero tolerance. Under U.S. law, parents facing such prosecution cannot stay with their kids. Trump had long insisted only Congress could reverse all that. Today, he did it himself, as critics had long insisted he could.
So we're going to have strong, very strong borders, but we're going to keep the families together.
Trump is directing that the rules be changed, governing how long children can be detained, allowing the families to stay together. Meanwhile, he's also directing the U.S. Defense Department to now provide further accommodation for families through whatever legal proceedings follow their capture. Trump today also urged U.S. lawmakers to quickly pass broad immigration reform, which, by the way, would also include money for Trump's long-promised but still unbuilt border wall, something Democrats strongly oppose.
Thank you very much, everybody. We'll get the wall. We'll get the wall done. We'll get the wall done. Yes?
Bottom line, U.S. authorities will keep on prosecuting everyone they catch. But if Trump's order holds, children will no longer be taken from their parents. In the face of all that outrage, Trump blinked.
But, Paul, you say if the order holds. Is there a chance it might not?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? You know, for sure, the order could be challenged. The key part of the rules for these children has been that they're allowed to be held in those detention centers for at most 20 days. The idea is that any longer than that in those places isn't good for children. Now, Trump is saying, in effect, okay, so instead we'll keep families together, but it'll have to be in detention, and it'll likely be for more than 20 days. So if his order is challenged, the ultimate question may well be, what's better for the children? To be taken from their parents and cared for by someone else, but in some place that isn't one of those detention centers? Or is it better to keep them in one of those awful places we've seen for who knows how long, but with their parents? That's where zero tolerance ultimately leads. Andrew.
Paul Hunter in Washington. Thanks very much. So, look, there are a number of questions still unanswered about what this executive order will mean, but perhaps the most pressing one, what about the 2,000 plus kids who've already been separated from their parents? For most of those 2,300 kids, the first stop after being separated was somewhere like this. Then they'd be taken to one of many children's shelters, often in another state. Yes, they are well fed and protected there, but most have no idea where their parents are and when it comes to finding them again. Have a listen to lawyer Anthony Enriquez. He's worked with children who've been separated from their parents, and he says the U.S. government has no plan at all.
No, there is no plan. There is no plan that's been set forth. There are no instructions that have come to any caseworkers or legal service providers that are working with these families to help facilitate that reunification.
Even so, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services says it will reunite families eventually. It just didn't offer up much in the way of details.
We are always working aggressively. We need to get the children out of our care as expeditiously as possible.
And consider how difficult it may be to reunite separated families, whether it's a lack of documents, parents being moved from one detention center to another, or even deported. And younger children may lack the language skills or the knowledge to help find their parents at all.
Children who can't be reunited with their family are unaccompanied minors then. There is no adult who will assume care or custody of that child here in the United States.
Then there's the issue of emotional and psychological damage. Kids who don't know when or if they'll see their families again.
And And separating parents and children is absolutely devastating. It's very harmful, both for the short term and in terms of its long-term effects, even on the neurodevelopment of children, and can result in impairment of their social, emotional, and cognitive functioning.
And even if families are reunited again, there is another larger question to consider. Will all of this actually stem the tide of illegal border crossers, or will they just keep coming? Now, Barack Obama doesn't tend to weigh in on Trump's policies much, but he did post a message on Facebook today, which also happens to be World Refugee Day. In it, he asks, "Are we a nation that accepts the cruelty of ripping children from their parents' arms, or are we a nation that values families and works to keep them together?" He goes on to say, "We have to do more than say this isn't who we are. We have to prove it through our policies, our laws, our actions, and our votes."